Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum to each and every Pakistanis who's actually tuned into PT World as of now. And ladies and gentlemen, you are definitely witnessing the historic election transmission 2024. And ladies and gentlemen, I happen to be Shahzad Hasan Khan. And with me, I'm very lucky that I've been joined by my very well-learned colleague who happens to be Hajra Satti. It's a big day for Pakistanis today, and it's because of the fact that when we speak as a democratic nation, ladies and gentlemen, today is the day where each and every Pakistani will go out to cast their vote and appoint a representative for themselves. For every Pakistani to be out there and to vote, ladies and gentlemen, it is of utmost importance that we kind of speak and reiterate that every individual, every Pakistani needs to exercise their right to vote. The polling has officially begun since the morning as well, and we can see that how people are actually making their ways to their relative polling stations as well. But before I speak any further, I think I would like to, kind of ask my wonderful, well-learned colleague over here if she has already voted or she will be voting right after the transmission. So, Hajra, assalamu alaikum. How do you feel today?
Walaikum assalam. Thank you so much. Jazakallah khair, Shahzad, for introducing me. Certainly, it's a big day because all Pakistanis are geared up for the elections. And as I was coming from my home to the office, I could see that there's a wave, there's a fervor inside our country, and that way people are going to the polling stations and they are exercising their democratic right to vote. And like you mentioned, it is a sacred vote and it is their sacred right which they exercise to choose their representatives. And as it is said that a democracy is a system that is designed in a way so that the people can go and select their representatives and make sure that those representatives are also delivering on their promises. But as we are speaking as of now, no, I haven't voted, but I will certainly vote after the transmission is over. Inshallah. Because I have to come over to the office and I have to prepare all of the election transmission. But after that, I will certainly exercise my vote. And before we start our election transmission campaign and introduce our guests, so there are some figures that I would like to share with our audiences, because as according to the Election Commission of Pakistan, more than 128.5 million voters will exercise their right to vote. We request all of the Pakistanis to please go out and exercise your right to vote. The polling stations have started from 8 till 6 and it is a very sacred day. It is the day where you exercise your vote, and according to ECP, 16,766 polling stations have been declared as highly sensitive and 29,985 as sensitive. As the transmission will progress, as we develop the conversation forward, we will make sure that we are bringing on the live beepers from our reporters who are deployed around the country and who are reporting from their constituencies. But before that, we are going to contemplate on what exactly the concept of democracy is and how people exercise their right to vote. And it's not just about the people out there. So it's a very inclusive sort of a system where women are also voting, where minorities are also voting, where minorities in terms of the marginalized segments, the underprivileged, they are also exercising their right to vote. And we are further going to develop this conversation because ECP has taken a lot of steps to make sure that there is a social inclusion, and that too there is also gendered inclusion, and they are encouraging the women political representation and participation, especially in the areas where we see that the women participation is very low. So we are going to talk further about it, but before that we would like to introduce.
Exactly, and before we introduce, there are particular numbers that I would like to share over here as well, for the general awareness of the audiences as well. So imagine these figures actually come from Election Commission of Pakistan, and before I speak any further, I believe that we really need to pay rich tribute for the kind of services that the Election Commission of Pakistan has provided, the armed forces, ladies and gentlemen, police, and each and every individual, every polling agent, every presiding officer. I think that we really need to pay rich tribute to them. But very quickly, ladies and gentlemen, when we speak of the National Assembly seats, there are total 336 seats with 266 general seats, and then for women reserve seats there are 60, and then for minorities there are 10. Now, if we are to kind of, break it down for National Assembly seats in Punjab, it's a total of 173. National Assembly seats in Sindh, ladies and gentlemen, is 75. National Assembly seats in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, 55. National Assembly seats in Balochistan are 20, and in the Federal Capital are 3. Now, if we are to kind of come towards Provincial Assembly, that's where most number of seats is, ladies and gentlemen. So the total Provincial Assembly seats happen to be 749 with 593 general seats, 132 women and 24 minorities. Breaking it down province-wise, Provincial Assembly seats in Punjab 371, Provincial Assembly seats in Sindh 168, Provincial Assembly seats in KPK 145, provincial assembly seats in Balochistan 65, and as you mentioned that the total number of voters happens to be 12 crore 85 lakhs 85,000 and 760 voters will be exercising their right to vote today. And before I introduce my worthy guests over here who've taken our time, because I'm still yet to ask them whether they were trusting incident which I would love to share, and that is that right in the morning, I mean this is how you know, every leader needs to be out there as well, you know, every organization, because Pakistan Television, ladies and gentlemen, today will be bringing you official results. So before I speak any further, I'm very glad that right early in the morning I was lucky enough to meet our interim information minister Mutsar Salangi Saab as well, and he told me that, look, I have voted already. You know, he was over here inside the studios, and it was so good to see how he was, you know, at the front of everything over here. And to kind of kickstart our election transmission, ladies and gentlemen, let's introduce our worthy guests over here inside the studios. First up, we're very lucky that I've been joined by one of my favorites as well. And ladies and gentlemen, he happens to be a senior analyst himself. He's Mr. Hafiz Hassan Khoka Sahab. Hello sir, assalamu alaikum.
Shazad, thank you so much.
How are you?
Thank you so much. I am fine, mashallah.
So you have exercised your right to vote?
I will, because of transmission I am here, and definitely I will vote
I think we
my favorite.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. Wonderful
Right.
to have you over here. Alongside him, we're very lucky that we've been joined by another senior analyst. He happens to be Dr. Zia Shamsi Sahab. Assalamu alaikum sir. Good morning. How are you?
Ji, walaikum assalam. Thank you very much.
And thank you so much for joining us, sir. The question stays the same. Have you voted already?
I'm already prepared with the answer that because of this transmission,
Yes,
I have yet not voted. However, I have requested for an early exit from the transmission so that I can go.
Which you will get for sure, inshallah. Thank you so
And
much, sir.
I
for
think we
joining
have
us.
to all say the same about it, because after this transmission, obviously, because we have to get prepared for that, we will exercise our right to vote. But Shazad, what about you? Have you voted?
So I've not voted,
Right.
and my father and my mother, you know, everybody at my place is actually waiting for me to come back home.
Okay,
you know,
okay.
after this transmission, I'm going to go straight away. My vote happens to be in Gawal Mandi in the FG Dariabad school. Ladies and gentlemen, there was this service. You text your ID card number to 8300 and they will let you know. So I think, you know, Ammi Abu, if you guys are watching, please hold your horses. I'll be there with you.
But I think by this time, I think people are already aware enough of what is their constituency, because I generally am talking to the people and I see that they are displaying and exhibiting a fervor and enthusiasm for the elections, because they want to exercise their very sacred right to vote. So also we are going to introduce our worthy guest, who is also very particularly coming on our show, and he's very passionate about it. He happens to be also a senior analyst. He is Professor Zabir Awan Sahab. Assalamu alaikum sir, and thank you so much for coming to our show. Okay sir, so have you voted?
Not yet.
Not yet. Not yet.
After the transmission.
Okay, so Hafiz Saab, now let's start the conversation and develop it. So now let's talk about the concept of democracy. And we know that how democracy manifests, elections is one of the particular process through which a democracy manifests. So how do you see the interlink between the elections, between people's right to choose their political elites, and the concept of democracy in general?
Hajra, the election process is a fundamental part of a democracy.
True.
And we are very well saying that democracy is defined as the people of the government, by the people and for the people. But the important is the people who cast their votes. And in our constitution, it is a fundamental right to vote. Every citizen who has an age of 18 years, he is entitled to cast a vote. And more importantly, the constitution, the law stressed it. There is no exception to the right of vote. Even you are convicted, you have a right to vote. Even you are under trial prisoners, you have a right to vote. Even you are outside Pakistan and you have the nationality of Pakistan, you can cast the vote inside Pakistan. There are certain provisions of that. And more importantly, if you are disabled, then you can cast a vote. There are serious the certain legal provisions where allow that you can give a vote through a balloting to a person. And then if you're a person who are on duty, the law enforcement agencies, the election people who are there, the government functionaries there, they are there, they can cast their vote through postal ballots. So the important thing is that now today is we should encourage the people of Pakistan to cast their vote. Now we have 128 million votes in Pakistan.
Exactly.
And we have the 5th largest country of a democratic country entering into a process. We're the 5th largest country in terms of the population. And we are the 2nd largest country in terms of Islamic world, that we are entering into a political process in Pakistan. Second thing which is more important to me is that this is a day of hope.
True.
We should ask the people that your votes will matter. You should go out, you should cast your vote, and every person who is trying to disappoint, I mean, you should not hear these voices. Go over there, your vote will be counted, and you will be part of the process that we have a dream for a prosperous and bright Pakistan.
Thank you so much for reiterating this particularly very encouraging suggestion that your vote always matter, and make sure that you go out and vote, because polling stations are functional from 8 in the morning till 6 in the evening, and it is your right to exercise your very sacred right to vote. It is your constitutional right, and no one can discourage you. So Professor Shamsi Saab, now coming to you, and we've already talked about the intersectionality between the elections, between the political representation, and between the democracy. But when we talk about the political programs and how political parties were campaigning, how they are delivering on their manifestos, how do you see the gap between the manifestos and then walking the talk generally? How the and what are the particularly challenges that you see in those manifestos and delivering them?
Yeah, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much. Actually, as we discussed, what is democracy? The people have only one thing at their disposal, and that opportunity comes every 4 or 5 years, depending upon what kind of system you have.
True.
In America, they have 4 years election. Pakistan, we have 5 years.
5-year election.
So, as you said, that we must go out and vote.
Yes.
And do not give too much weight to the social media which says that it will not be counted, or the results are already prepared, and
Cynical voices, yes, yes.
I have written at least 2 opinion articles in the last 2 weeks on the same subject. So now coming back to the domestic politics. Domestic politics of Pakistan, unfortunately,
Right.
has not blossomed
That's
in the sense as the democracy should have, isn't it?
Can you
But
touch upon it a
that's
little
I'm
as well? You know,
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Why? Because of interruptions.
Okay.
Because of interruptions. People are not very well educated, they were not very well aware.
True.
So there were interruptions in between, and that is why the process did not continue as it should have continued, or as it has continued in our neighborhood.
Okay.
So that is one aspect. But that does not mean that we should not believe in democracy. We should believe in democracy. We should believe in the power of vote that today people are going to exercise. They must go out and vote to the party they like, to the manifesto of that party they like, to the individuals who are there contesting, because they may not have a party at this time. It is people's choice.
True.
And I can assure you that it will be counted, inshallah.
But Dr. Shamsi Saab, you highlighted a very important point, and let's develop a conversation on that. And you talked about that there were interruptions, and you further unpack those interruptions in terms of how people are not educated, so they might not be able to select a very wise political leadership, right? But when you read Nelson Mandela and when you see his entire campaign, it was developed on this premise that this is something that the white men or the colonized people use this as a pretext to enslave them, right? And they used to say that because they're not educated enough, the South Africans, the indigenous communities are not educated enough, so they should not be given the right to vote, right? And this is one of the criticism, and this is one of the entire, I would say, his campaign, or the Fulcrum campaign, in which he participated, and he went to jail, and he served 3 decades there, right? So don't you think that this is no justification for say that if people are not educated enough, this is not a reason not to vote out there,
Or probably
right?
it should have been political leadership's responsibility.
I think either I did not communicate it properly, or you misunderstood.
Okay,
I am by no means justifying these interruptions,
Right.
because we were less educated.
We should continue with the process.
What I was referring to is
Sure.
that why the democracy has not blossomed to a level,
Okay,
okay?
right,
No justification as far as the interruptions are concerned.
right,
Because in democracy, majority is authority. Whether they are illiterate or they are all PhDs, every vote counts.
True.
right.
My vote is equal to the vote of my domestic worker.
That's true.
That is period.
That's true.
Isn't it?
It
एक ही
is,
सफ
it
में
is.
खड़े हो गए महमूद अयाज. That
It
kind
is.
of concept. Okay, as far as democracy.
True.
is concerned. Why Pakistan had interruptions? There are multiple reasons. All right, but moving forward, moving forward, leaving that behind, today is the day of reckoning. All right? If you go out and vote, then you will be able to select the person you want, you like, you prefer, you choose to be in the parliament representing you.
That's true.
Okay? No matter which party. Isn't it?
Right.
He is representing the constituency from where the people have elected him.
Right.
Now he is a legislature. All right? He is not going to build the roads or the nallies.
It's more of a legislative process.
That is for the local councillors.
True.
All right? He is going to legislate. And there is lot of niche in our constitution that needs to be corrected, because over the years 73 constitution has had some 19, 20, 21, 2, 3, 4 amendments.
Right.
It needs to be corrected.
Exactly.
Once the legislation is corrected and completed, the process of democracy then will not be derailed, and those interruptions that we were discussing will not cause the interruption.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for, kind of summarizing it for our audiences and for us as well at the same time. And, moving on to Professor Zameer Awan Sahab. So now, Zameer Awan Sahab, with our conversations at this point of time, I think it's for the voter to be well aware of the manifestos of the political parties, and where we are speaking of it, I've mentioned it quite a lot of times that it's more of legislation, how many legislative process any particular government is going to get into, and how many legislations will be approved from the upper and the lower house. Now, when we are to kind of speak of a voter in the first place, how important it is for any voter to, when they're out there to exercise their right to vote, how many times do you think that any voter would be aware of the manifesto of any political party or any political leader that they're out there to pick them?
Bismillah ar-Rahman. Vote is a sacred duty, and it is obligatory to every adult at the age of 18. We must cast our vote.
True.
This is the way how we express our feelings, or we can choose the government of our own choice. That is the concept of the democracy. And the voters, they are literate or they are illiterate, but they have the common sense.
True.
Right.
Because they know that at the end of the day, it is they who will suffer or who will be beneficiary of this vote. If they have voted to the right person, to the right party, they will enjoy, and the country and themselves will prosper. And if they have voted to the wrong party and wrong person, they know they will be the victimized.
True.
Anyhow, the power of vote is a very, very important, and if our voter know the worth and the power of his vote, he will definitely vote for the right and appropriate person.
True.
And the party. We believe that we need to educate our masses on the power of his vote, and he should know his vote can make or break his future or his country's future. So more important is to educate our voter.
Exactly. Thank you so much, sir, for kind of talking about how important it is for any voter to kind of be very well aware. At this point of time, I would like to actually add on over here as well that for all our cameramen, for all our producers, our entire team, people in the MCR, maybe in the makeup room, I think everybody is at their job. It's like hands full as of now, and as soon as we're going to get time, we'll certainly be going out to vote as well. But now I think it's about time that we kind of take our conversation to a point where, Khokar sir, I would like to talk about, because when we talk about the voter turnover, or this is something which is of utmost importance on this particular day, because it's totally the future of the country which is in our hands, and that's what democracy brings to us as well. Sure. Now, when we talk about voters, obviously I've seen this coming across from my grandfather that who are you going to vote? So if whatever preference there would be amongst our family members as well, so my grandfather would always convince, no, you're not going to vote for them, even though whatever it was our choice, because by the end of the day it's you casting your vote. Do you think that such things really need to be kind of avoided by any particular voter out there? Ki, mere abbu ne kya si to mainu vote diya hai. Yeah, is it more important for us to understand who can actually, or who should have the power to kind of build a successful and a prosperous future for the country we call Islamic Republic of Pakistan?
Shehzad, first of all, I will share the data of the turnout in Pakistan for the last 3 elections, and then we predict what would be in the 2024. If we talk about 2008 elections, there was a 44% turnout in Pakistan.
Okay.
When we have a
Very sorry, but when we say 44%, do we say that out of the total voters list?
out of the total
Okay.
voters, out
Yep.
of the total voters, 44 is the
Right.
turnout, 44%. When we talked about the election of 2013, the turnout was around 55% for the total votes. When we talked about the voters of the 2018,
Ji.
it was 51% of the total turnouts. Now, interestingly, in this, when we are saying that we have 128 million votes, and now there is also another distinction factor is there is a less, I mean, the parity between the genders.
Ji.
Now, the women and the male sides, now they are near to close to the total casting of votes. Now, this particular situation for the last 4 years, a person who is age 18 age in Pakistan and a right to vote, there are 21 million votes increase in 128 votes. For the people, there are 21 million who will be casting their first time in this electoral process. Now, three things are very important to increase, because today for me we should talk about to encourage the voters and to talk about the dream for the future of the Pakistan.
Okay.
What was the democracy? What is the democracy? This might be, it is a second stage, but today it is a very important, which is a particular project for electoral process for the democracy in Pakistan. Now, if we talk about another gender gap, from 18 to 35 years old,
Right.
there is around 47% of your votes in Pakistan out of 128. So, if the people who are the first time 21 millions, and if the people who are in between the 18 and 35 years age bracket, and then there is another phenomena, that is a social media.
Yeah.
That's-
Now the people are more aware about their rights, about the manifesto, about their independence. The problem was started from that you are talking about in the family matters from 2013,
True.
when there was a division, the father is going somewhere and the children somewhere going.
Lesser political patience though.
Now we are more matured on that.
True.
Now we understand. Now we reciprocate if the
क्योंकि
father
आप
says,
अबूद हैं, लेकिन मैं अपना
हाँ,
वोट
वो उसके
अपनी
अंदर
मर्जी से दूँ.
वो उसके अंदर तो ये the most important thing now is that we should ask those people who are just entering into the Pakistani electoral process, come out, go their vote and cast whatever you would like. And the second most important thing, we should encourage the women in Pakistan, because they are all about the 46-47% of your votes. They are the more important. So if these two areas cast their vote, you will increase, the thing is, about 65 or 70%. And if we go on the regular side from 44 to 55%, there would be almost identical results which we are seeing for the last many years in Pakistan. And if we cross a 55, 56, 57, then there will be a triggering side on the other side. Then there will be the actually reflection for the people of Pakistan, what the people of Pakistan thinking about it. So we should request the people of Pakistan to come out, cast their vote, don't sit in house and criticize the government and the
And we
political
will keep
party.
on- and we will-
And certainly we seek that way, because Shehzad, when I was coming from my home to office, so I was seeing that a lot of people, they were queuing up outside the polling station and they're ready to exercise their vote, which is a very good omen for our country, and that is why we are saying it is a big day, because our entire country is all geared up for the election. So Professor Shamsi Saab,
One point,
Sure,
sir,
sure,
one
sure.
point I add. Now today we should talk about the credibility of the system. This is the most important thing. This is the system. We should I mean, make all point for the credibility, about the transparency, about the fairness, about the counting of their votes. If we talk about in this way, then the voter will come to the polling station. He will say that I have a right, I am going to exercise, my votes will be counted, and whosoever will be, he will be my
But sir,
elected
since you mentioned
candidate.
about it, let me, this is my opinion. I'm not saying that, that it should be everybody else's opinion, and it's
Okay.
just that even if you believe within the system, or if you do not trust on the system, there's one thing which I would always say, and that is that if you're not going to go out there and cast your vote, imagine that for the next 5 years you shouldn't be saying what's going wrong or what's going right within the country as well. But very quickly
But
with that,
thank you so much for
there's
saying that,
one
yes.
more thing which I would like to ask Shamsi Saab always. Now Shamsi Saab, the question is that when we speak of any political party to win with majority, or any political party to kind of garner a few independent candidates amongst them as well to form a government, what is your point of view on saying whether any political party should have a complete majority, or do you think that with independent candidates governments can be formed, and then do you think that the functionality of that particular government will be hindered? Do you think that there will be problems within such a government?
You see,
Your opinion, yes.
Yeah. My opinion does not matter. I am an individual.
As a Pakistani does.
I have one vote.
Yeah.
Okay. What is important is the Constitution of Pakistan.
True.
Constitution of Pakistan says that majority is authority, and the person or the party who has more than 50% candidates or the members in the assembly will form the government.
True.
Okay.
True.
So it does not matter whether you form the government with the help of independents or under a banner of a political party or more than one political
merger
party
of political parties, yeah.
or multiple political parties. So Constitution is very clear on this.
True.
Number one. Number two, what is important is that the process, as Khokar Saab said, should be transparent. Why? Because we have to satisfy ourselves as a nation that we have installed a government which majority of the people wanted.
True.
That is more important. Number one. Then for the outside world, that the people around the world respect our democracy. They have respect for our government. All right. Because the credibility of the government is showing the credibility of the state.
True.
All right. We have to deal with IMF, we have to deal with World Bank, we have to deal with the interstate relations, we have to deal at multilateral forums. If the government is not credible, then we will have problem.
Okay.
And you know, as the Western world, freedom of expression, speech, they don't care.
That's true.
They will speak whatever they have observed. And I think the most important thing of the day is that the process goes smoothly with safety and security, because we have had multiple instances in the last 2-3 days. By the grace of Allah, inshallah, everything goes well. End of the day, counting starts, all right, and the result, as we said, start to come 1 hour from each polling station wherever the counting is completed. That is legal.
Exactly.
All right.
True.
That should continue all night long, and by 9th morning, early morning, Fajr ki namaz ke waqt, we should have a clear picture. The Pakistanis should have a clear picture that who is emerging to govern the country for the next 5 years.
That's fine. I'm very sorry, Ajay, but I need to ask this over here.
But I think, yes, this is what we are expecting, and this is how I think things will roll on. But Professor Saab, now let's talk about something which you proclaimed it, and I do believe that's very beautiful how you explain the concept of democracy, and especially after the collapse of Soviet Union, we've seen that how American liberal, they proclaim that the democracy is the highest form of the evolution or the civilization, and it is the system that is preferred world over, right? And because it brings transparency, it brings accountability, effectiveness, good governance, whatnot. So if we delve into the party manifestos of different parties, and if we analyze the intersectionality of different form of the discrimination based on the class, based on the gender, based on the ethnicities, and how they're also bogging down the marginalized groups, and we have seen different parties have sketched different manifestos, for example, based on their genders, how they're going to work for the women rights, different political parties. But if we analyze their manifestos, and if we see the gap between converting them or catapulting them into the action, where do you see the most gap? Do you believe that just because we do not have that much of resources as a country, right? So it is hindering those resources, or scarcity of the resources is hindering in walking the talk of those manifestos, which are very beautifully carved and sketched out and then proclaimed in lots of different political rallies out there. So what is your opinion on that?
In fact, this is the most unfortunate part of our democracy.
That's true.
The manifestos are only to be announced at a presser.
Oh,
They
yes.
are never put into effect by any of the political party. We have had a two-party system for the last 40 years, then entered a third party.
True.
The division is very clear. For example, if I may, PMLN, if voted to power, will go and build roads and metros. PPP, if voted to power, will concentrate on Benazir income support program.
Social safety nets, true.
Okay. PTI, if voted to power, will go on to billion tree tsunami and the health card.
Yeah.
So these things are very clear and divisions are made. All right. Manifestos work in the developed democracies only, where people understand and go and vote on the manifesto. Here in Pakistan, as I said in the beginning, why there were interruptions? Because the lack of awareness and the niche available that was
For the people.
fulfilled.
Yeah.
So, manifesto at this time, even at this time, is not that important, because people who are going to vote for a particular party or an individual exactly know what his party leader thinks and will do after coming in power.
True.
Manifestos will take into effect only when we have had a continuous democracy for 2, 3, 4 decades and people have matured. As the understanding and awareness is increasing day by day because of the social media, as Kokar Saab said,
True.
it is improving and people have started to question their party leaders that what are you going to do if you come into power.
Yeah.
So it will grow, it will continue. I am not disheartened with that, but at the moment, it may not be that effective in this particular election.
Yeah, because you have already spoken, you've already given your opinion on this, that that it is for the developed democracies as well. So continuing with that, I think that there's a blend of two conversations now. I think I'm going to move on to Professor Saab with us as well. But before I come to you, Professor Saab, let's take a listen at what's actually happening in NA 57 Rawalpindi, where Hassan Tariq Bhatt Saab is there, one of our very amazing reporters. So Hassan, what do you have for us? How's the polling process going so far?
The polling has started in Rawalpindi. This is NA 57, one of the 7 constituencies in National Assembly. Rawalpindi district also has 14 constituencies in the Provincial Assembly. In today's general election, which started at 8 in the morning, it will continue uninterrupted till 5 in the evening. A total of 188 candidates are appearing or contesting in these elections in a bid to grab one of the 7 seats in National Assembly, and 421 candidates are appearing, are hopefuls, in a bid to grab one of the 14 seats in the Provincial Assembly. Rawalpindi has a total population of 6.1 million with registered voters of 3.857 million. And in order to facilitate the process of polling and balloting, a total of 2,671 polling stations have been set up, with 989 for men, 964 for women, and 718 designated as joint polling stations. 6,936 polling booths have been set up in the Rawalpindi district, with 3,463 reserved for men and 3,473 for women. As far as the staff is concerned, a total of 2,671 presiding officers are on duty today, and with assistant presiding officers of 13,872. 6,936 polling officers are on duty, with other staff, including the lower staff. That's the number is 2,671. As I said earlier, the polling started at 8 in the morning and it will continue uninterrupted till 5 in the evening.
Thank you so much, Hassan, for being with us, and thank you so much for letting us know that how uninterrupted polling is actually going on right from the beginning of this morning as well. We're moving on to Professor Saab. Now, Professor Saab, I'll come back to where, I have asked about, when two parties come together to form a government and how there's a mix of manifesto and, when there's this one supreme authority, it does not let the other one get what they want. And so it's either way, vis a vis as well. Now there was another blend as well, which Haja brings in as well, that how there's a gap in terms of manifestos and how people are not even asking their political leadership, simple as that. Now when we talk about, because this is something that we've seen previously, how two political parties have come together to form governments, as soon as it's time for the next election they start blaming each other, even though that they were sitting in the government together. Now, what is the best democratic process for us to kind of achieve through our vote, that we give power to that one political party? We know what the manifesto is, so that there's more development which can take place, or legislation that can take place, so that we are actually on the right track. Now, what's your take on this?
In other words, how can we instill more political maturity, which is more inclusive of our national interests, not a political bickering that has been going on?
Abhi horse trading pe aana hai thodi der mein.
As a matter of fact, democracy, since the World War II, it is the most accepted way of governance in the Western world, and most of the countries are following the democratic process. And but in the developing countries, all of the developing countries are facing different challenges. Pakistan is also no exception. We have different type of challenges in the democracy. Usually the people take the politics as a family business, as a corporate. I should not quote any single party because I am a neutral person, but some of the political parties has entered into third generation. Is a family business, family corporate culture.
But sir, when you say that you're a neutral person, do you say that you're apolitical?
But
That's
There
an-
will be a
that's
political
an-
preference with you too.
That's,
you know?
that's an interesting
Yes,
debate, and we will
I will
certainly-
try to be neutral. I will try to be neutral. Maybe
we
not
will-
successful, but I will try.
and we will,
Anyhow.
because it has
Yeah.
so sure.
Anyhow, the parties has no manifestos. Some of the parties have no manifestos, but they have family priorities
True.
and legacies. However, still there are 175 political parties in this country. Only few are very big parties, and they have their manifestos. But unfortunately, our people in Pakistan, the voter, he believe only in the politics of Nali, Gali, Thana and
Roti.
Patwari.
Yeah.
They don't think more than beyond this one. Actually, we are following the British style parliamentary system or parliamentary democratic
But sir,
system.
this must be something which was going on before 1947 as well. You know, it's not new. Obviously, you know, because I certainly believe, you know, I'm not saying it might be a very generic statement, people might not like it, because this has happened, that's why we're still on the same track.
But I think, yeah,
and-
sure.
And also, because your elected MNA or MPA is supposed to understand the problem of this constituency, and when he will sit in the National Assembly or Provincial Assembly, he will make the policy formulation to address the collective problems of that constituency. I mean, it is not the individual. You give somebody a job, or you give somebody relief from the Thana or Patwari, or this is not the mandate of any MNA or MPA. They are supposed to make legislation.
True.
And they have to address the national issues based on consensus, meeting the requirement of his own people who have voted for him. Unfortunately, our voter has not expected this and not demanded this.
And
So-
I think in an ideal world we do expect that, but obviously we are bringing you some live news that Shehbaz Sharif, who happens to be our former Prime Minister, has casted his vote, and we can see the live visuals coming. Shehbaz Sharif, who is casting his vote, who happens to be former Prime Minister, he's exercising his democratic right to vote, and he has just casted his vote. He's exercised his democratic right to vote. These are the live visuals coming from polling station where our former Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif is casting his right to vote, and our PTV team is very vigilant in bringing these visuals and making sure that we bring all of these visuals from the personalities who are casting their vote, and we see that there is entire fervor inside the country where people are exercising their right to vote. So Khokar Saab, now let's come back to you. And
This
you
is, by the
said
way, this is that one vote that you would always know who he has voted for as well.
so we will develop a conversation, and I would like to pick something which you said, which is very interesting and which has, I think, totally changed the dynamics of the voting system, which is the social media, right? So we've seen in the last couple of elections, social media has played an important role, and a lot of people, there's a global debate going on that is a social media a threat to democracy, or is it an opportunity for the democracy? Because we've seen how political parties inside Pakistan, they have been incorporating the social media, and to reach out to the young voters out there, social media is the platform, right? Because broadcast media is being watched, but obviously social media has more penetration. So how important do you think is the role of social media in this general elections, and do you believe that it is a threat to democracy? Because in America we have seen how there were allegations, especially on the Trump campaign, that how the Russia is influencing their elections and swaying the voters to their side. And obviously Pakistan living in a globalized world, we can have the same sort of diffusion here in Pakistan,
Can be
right?
more of brainwashing as well.
Exactly. So do you think it's a manipulative medium?
Hajra, there is two aspects. One is a
Right.
positive aspect,
Yes.
and the second is a negative aspect.
Let's start with the positive one.
The positive aspect, it is a big source of awareness. It is a big source of sharing the views and expressing your views. It is a big source to participate in the electoral process. It is a big source to understand what is going around in Pakistan or somewhere else around the world. It is a big source to understand what the people of the other party are thinking about, what they are saying to that. and it is a source to comprehend the political system in Pakistan, what is the trend in Pakistan.
Okay.
So it is a positive side. On the negative side, we have in all our walk of life, there is a positivity, there is a negativity. And negativity on that side is the trend which you talk about, the influencing the opinion of the voters in Pakistan. You talk about the manipulation, you talk about the influencing. But here is the most important thing in Pakistan is that, because you talk about much on the manifesto. Manifesto is a very much important for any political party and for any democratic country in Pakistan. But unfortunately, our parties and our party leaders, they are concentrating their political campaign in 4 areas. One is the political parties, they are the person-specific parties. We like one leader, we don't like another leader. Then there is a division of the liking and disliking. You like one party without any reason maybe, and you dislike another party without any reason because you like someone else.
Yeah.
And then the third, the most important thing area is about a manifesto is that much emphasis has been made on the local government system. We talk about the roads, we talk about the health cares, we talk about the patwari, we talk about the police station. It is a local affairs.
True.
And the local affairs doesn't play in Pakistan, because all the people you talk about, when a person comes to a political party, वो आपने उर्दू में बोला कि जी सानू की दोगे जी, क्या आपका मैनिफेस्टो क्या है, तो simultaneously the voter says सानू की दोगे. And the other big thing which is not strengthening our manifesto in Pakistan, the politics of the electability. So if a leadership in Pakistan is thinking about one segment is the liking and disliking, second is I'm a hero of someone, and the third is we need the electability. If we talk about in 3 areas, then the manifesto will go somewhere else.
Sorry, we have to interject because we are just taking the live visuals from our special correspondent Shabir Wakra, who is standing at the Adiala polling station, which is the largest polling station of the Rawalpindi. So Shabir, what do you have for us? What is the situation on the ground?
Yes, I am standing in Rawalpindi district, the 3rd largest district of Punjab and one of the very important districts in the politics of Pakistan. This polling station is Adiala Road polling station, and it is part of the sensitive polling station. That is why there's a lot of security arrangements which I have seen over here. The most important day in the democratic history of Pakistan has just started. And if we talk about the Rawalpindi district, the district has 3.85 million registered voters. And these voters are today choosing their representatives for 7 National Assembly seats and for 14 provincial assembly, Punjab assembly seats. And for National Assembly seats, 188 candidates are contesting with from their political parties, and also a major part of them are contesting as independents. And for 14 Punjab assembly seats, 421 candidates are contesting from the Rawalpindi district. And the polling stations which have been established by Election Commission of Pakistan, 6,071 polling stations in the whole district for these 3.85 million voters, and out of them 989 are men polling stations, and there are 964 polling stations that are for the women, and there are combined polling stations, 718 combined polling stations have been established by Election Commission of Pakistan. Election process has started, and in this constituency I have seen about 10 to 12 police personnel are performing their duty. No one is allowed inside with the mobile, and also they are strictly checking national identity card for the voters, and then they are allowing them to enter, and polling process has just started.
Thank you so much, our special correspondent Shabir Ahmed Wagra from Adiala, and thank you so much for updating us on how the entire setup is so conclusive for people to be out there as well. They're designated, polling stations for women, designated polling stations for men. True. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to head out towards a short break. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back, and we'll continue with our election transmission as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's go out for a short break. ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It's a big day for Pakistanis, all over the country, where we are exercising our right to vote today as well, because it happens to be general elections 2024. The election marathon transmission will continue not just today but tomorrow till the time that we have the results as well, because every individual, every Pakistani today is tuned into Pakistan television, and it's an honor for us to be over here to serve our nation. Not just that, I think that this leadership is transcended, or such a skill is transcended from top to bottom. And if we are to speak about it, I've shared this incident for everybody who just tuned in. I met the Interim Information Minister today, the Secretary Information, Managing Director Pakistan Television, our producers, directors, heads, bosses, everybody is over here, and it's an ecstatic flavor over here inside the studios as well with our worthy guests. But before we, ladies and gentlemen, move forward, I believe that my very well-learned co-host actually has a question for one of our panelists today. So Aja, why don't you take the lead?
Right. Thank you so much. And once again, we would like to reiterate here is that, you need to go out, you need to exercise your vote, because polling stations are all open there, and it is your chance to select your political leadership and make sure that you have a government that is representing you in the constituent assemblies, and then you should hold them accountable if they are not delivering on their promises. So now, Shamsi Saab, we will come back to you, and we will like to develop this conversation further on the concept of the social media, how it has changed the dynamics of the electoral politics, especially how it has catapulted the entire younger population in Pakistan's young people constitute 60% of the population, right? And how it has changed the dynamics. So I would like you to comment on it. Do you feel that the role of social media has also creating a lot of opportunities, but it has created a lot of challenges to regulate, in terms of the manipulation of the voter bank, and also in terms of how there's lots of allegations of electoral interferences as we've seen in the American election. So what is your point of view on that?
Yeah, thank you. Actually, I've written a piece on this, the role of social media in general elections, Pakistan 2024.
Sure.
Some time back when I wrote about it, I declared social media as weapon of mass manipulation.
Okay.
Why? Because it not only builds awareness, but it manipulates the mind, and it changes the public opinion of the people. How? Through misinformation, through disinformation, and through fake news. This is the unfortunate part. The political parties, instead of spreading their message of manifesto, they are more engaged in maligning the opponent.
Yes.
That is the negative part.
That's true.
The positive part would have been to spread your message faster than any other medium to your voters, to the young voters who are more aware and more friendly to the use of social media. Then you would have been able to put across your own point of view. But unfortunately, all the parties are using it for negative purposes.
True.
Only last night, less than 12 hours to go, there was audio leak and some other things that a certain party has pulled out of the election, which turned out to be a fake news.
Exactly.
That is what the issue with social media is. Lack of education, lack of awareness. You do not know how to deploy it, how to employ it, and how to extract news out of it. However, since Pakistanis are using it in great number now,
True.
great number now,
130 million.
yes sir, therefore this remains one of the most effective medium at this time.
True.
Yes, that's
In election 2024, this is going to create a difference because it has made people aware that who is the candidate from which party, what is the election symbol,
true.
and what is he for in future.
True.
Isn't it? People know it. So, therefore, the role social media has played, despite being used as negative, also played a very positive role also in creating the awareness. Also, it has helped people motivate to go out and vote.
True.
I mean, if you open the social media of the last 3-4 days, the only call you're getting from everybody, from the celebrities, from the entertainers, from the politicians, from the academics, from anybody, all influencers, everybody is saying one thing:
Vote.
please go on and vote.
True.
This is important.
Exactly. And thank you so much, sir, for pinpointing it as well. Where we're talking about the positives, and very unfortunate, but I have to talk about this one negative, which we have seen. And I'm not sure whether in your opinion it's negative or not. But we have seen that, with this political leadership and with blind following of political parties, that there have been people coming out on roads. We have seen people coming out of houses to actually be out there and kind of, be there to, malign our political leadership as well. We have seen how people have been abroad as well, the political leadership have been abroad, and how other people have been harassing them. It's because of social media, you make a video, you harass one individual and you put it on social media. Now, when we speak of democracy, I think democracy, the sole purpose is to kind of go through all of these processes, sit on the table, take everybody's opinion, and then kind of have an action plan for that. Don't you think that with even such use of social media, where we have seen how the political leadership, whether they are in government or not in government, are being harassed by the people of Pakistan who might not have even come to Pakistan to vote as well? So how do you take this, number one? Number two, whenever we are choosing a leader, who do you think is a leader for us to be represented within the National Assembly? Let's start with that.
Thank you very much. If this is the case, the people are harassing and maligning the leadership, that is really bad. But whatever I have seen, because I am a professor in the university, I have a lot of interaction with the student, the youth of this nation.
True.
The youth of this nation are fully charged, responsible, and they are very well aware of the power of their vote. And I believe during this election, the turnover will be higher.
Inshallah.
I don't say who will win or who will lose, that is a different story, but the youth are participating in this election very well.
Exactly.
Maybe traditionally, our rural areas and the urban areas has a difference, a gap.
True.
Right.
Whereas the Vadera and Jagirdar and Chaudhary, they are voting on the Bradri system. Yes, that's different story. But from the cities, there will be a big difference. You will feel after 5 p.m. today when the election.
And who is the leader? Who is the leader? How do you think that any Pakistani should think that okay, this person has all of those traits and skills and character to be a leader?
The leader is chosen by the people, and if people trust him, he becomes the leader. I don't say the current leadership about any one of the current political party, but previously, after Qaid-e-Azam, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto was the leader.
Okay.
Right, and I think this is the new phenomena that we have seen on the social media about the echo chambers being emerging, where people who have like-minded approach, they group together. So there is an English maxim that says the birds of feather flock together, right?
True.
The like-minded people group together, and that creates a lot of polarization, fragmentation. But like Shamsi Saab mentioned, that it is also responsible for creating the mass awareness amongst the population to go out and vote there. So Khokar Saab, now coming back to you, we've seen that Election Commission of Pakistan has taken a lot of steps to encourage the women participation, the political representation, and also their right to vote out there. And especially there was a particularly report by Election Commission of Pakistan in 2013 elections that there were some constituencies where women were not encouraged or allowed to go out and vote there. And ECP has particularly taken the steps that they have, I think, encouraged the women voters to go out there and vote. So would you like to elaborate what are the particular steps they have taken in the light of this particular general election of 2024, where they are encouraging women voters to go out and exercise their right of the vote, especially in the areas that are very conservative constituencies, where there are underprivileged people there and marginalized segments there?
Hajra, first of all, responding your question, Shehzad has taken a very valid point. Who is a leader?
Sure, sure.
Leader are three areas. One is a local leader, we have a direct link with a political party, and he is representing a political party in your constituency. And
what is the apolitical party?
Any party. When I'm not talking about apolitical.
Okay,
I'm
sorry,
talking about
it was my bad. It was my bad.
apolitical party.
Right.
So the local leader is, when we talk about the local leader, is first, he has possessed the quality of the trust. He should be fair. He should not be a corrupt.
Okay.
He should think otherwise. He should not indulge in any other activities which the people of the area are talking about that it is against the society. He should not protect the criminals. He should not indulge in the local politics.
He's sketching very ideal scenario.
It's not an ideal. When we talk about the leaders, when we talk about the leaders,
okay.
And in a national
It's
leader,
a difficult search then, right?
when we talk about a
Right.
national leader, the national leader means who thinks
Right.
beyond the outside, see,
Yeah.
who has
Right.
the imagination, who has the
Right.
dream for a country, who thinks about, who has the comparative study, what is around in the world, who have the thinking of the pulse of the people. So these are the areas. But unfortunately, when we talk about, particularly in Pakistan scenario, in addition to that, so many things they are doing over there. I mean, we are much beyond a leadership in Pakistan, because our leaders, the local leaders, they are involved in the funds, they are involved in the police station, they are involved in the local areas, the employments, the contracts. So this is the primary area of the local leader. We talk about when we elect as a member of the National Assembly or the Provincial Assembly, the legislation importance, the legislation weightage is beyond our mandate. We talk about, and we talk about the how many employments you will given us, how many contracts you will award us, how many people in local areas in the police station they will be run, who will be DPO, who will the DCO, and that destroys our structure and the governance structure in Pakistan.
Thank you so much for
But
talking
now
about it.
let's
And the women's side,
Yes,
the women's side, there is two conditions. One is there is an equality of the votes. The votes of a male and a female are the equals. The second thing, in the election law, there is a 5% seats has to be nominated by a political party for their constituencies on the national, the provincial assemblies. And the third, the most important thing, with the percentage of the awareness. Now we haven't seen yet in all over the country there is a restriction for a women. Generally, we are talking about, we have seen some reports in the remote areas of the KPK that there is certain jarga and there is a certain restriction, and we have not yet seen. So there is a level of awareness, and the people of Pakistan, they think about it, especially the male side. The women have the equal right, and they should participate in our electoral process.
And which is why, we have designated, polling stations for women too. Now, sir, coming back to that point which you've just raised, it's a very important point. So let me kind of build it up as well. My, alhamdulillah, grandfather, my father have been the bureaucrat at the highest level. Now, whenever there's been a change in the government, whenever there's been general elections, right after the general elections, whichever party is going to come in power, we will see that how they will dismantle the entire system and will bring in their people. Now, one of the negative that I've observed of it is that, for example, that if there was this one political leader from a particular constituency, now he's promised people a lot of jobs. Those people were not qualified. That's one scenario, and I've seen that scenario, I've lived through it as well, that you will see engineers who do not have enough qualification, but they will be at that particular post. Now imagine that, if you are to speak about PIA, there's so many other government institutions that we see, unfortunately, have not been performing the way they should have performed. We do speak about how, it should have been more about legislation, but rather we see that there's always political interference. May it be Pakistan Cricket Board, I'm a great cricket fan myself, may it be anywhere else in the country. Why do you think that we haven't matured, we haven't lived out of this entire system? Because imagine that my father calling me up and said, Putter, government change hogi, to mainu keh rahe ne hat jao. Now imagine that we do not have any merit system whatsoever in place. We, with our vote, bring in a political party, the next day we know my father's not at job.
Shehzad,
Or is it just Pakistan or across the world?
we have a serious problem in Pakistan.
Okay.
Shehzad, you talk about the dismantling of a system. These political parties are not dismantling the system.
Okay.
If they dismantle the system, the status quo will go away.
Okay.
And the dismantling system is the governance, transparency, and rule of law.
True.
And since 1947, we have not changed our governance system. We have not changed our judicial system. We have not introduced a genuine local democratic system, local governance in Pakistan. And we have not even changed the bureaucratic structure in Pakistan. And now all it goes around is the loyalties and pick and choose. If you are loyal to me, you will have a good position. If you are not loyal to me, and there is I have some doubt
or not,
you are qualified.
That's not the question.
And this is the problem which people of Pakistan are facing. If you dismantle the system, then there will be no choice. Every person who has a good, the service record, he will be having a top position.
True.
But unfortunately, the discretion lies with the Prime Minister. The discretion lies, the unbridled discretion, not the discretion. The unbridled discretion lies with the Prime Minister, the Federal Secretaries, the Ministers, then the Chief Ministers, and ultimately it goes to the recommendations of a MNA or MPA.
True.
If you have 2 or 3 MNAs, they will support you. Your position is going up. And if you don't have, then there is a problem with you, and might be you have a 21 or 22 grade officers, you will not be having a good position despite you have a good track record and despite you want to do for the work for the people of Pakistan to change the system. So the most importantly, much we need talk about on this issue is that whosoever in Pakistan, we have a 76 years experience. We have destroyed almost a dysfunctional governance system in Pakistan. The justice in Pakistan, we have not introduced the local government. Now let's have a bigger issues of Pakistan. And the bigger issues of Pakistan is that we need to have a good economic system. We need to have a good governance system. We need to have outdated system on 1860. And we talk about the charter of governance, the charter of economy, and the acceptability and the national dialogue. So these are the areas we need to go on from 9 to onwards and work on it and change Pakistan.
And I think these are some of the leakages in the system that definitely we need to talk about it. But now, Shamsi Saab, let's move on to you and develop a conversation further in this particular regard about how ECP is encouraging a social inclusion. So we've seen that a lot of minorities, they're also, standing up in their constituencies, they're also fighting the elections.
And transgenders as well.
Yes, transgender community. And then we have also seen that how there's a concerted effort by the ECP to encourage women political participation and the representation, and there's particular, I'm forgetting the percentage of it, but there's particular rule that if a polling station does not have a particular percentage of the women, so the elections will declared be null because they want to encourage women and go out there and vote, right? So do you believe with such sort of steps, with the social inclusion and the steps that ECP is taking, Pakistan is moving towards a more socially inclusive constituencies where people are more aware of their rights and where the political participation and the representation of all of these marginalized groups are being encouraged?
Yeah, but before that, 2 points from the previous discussion.
Sure.
Number one, you asked for a leader.
Yeah.
In my opinion,
Sir.
The person who is inspiring is the leader.
Is this wonderful?
Okay. At the age of 60, 70, 80, if a guy is inspiring a 18-year-old, he is a leader.
Corrupt,
whatever. This is what the democracy majority is.
The corrupt can't inspire.
But yeah, your opinion.
This is my opinion.
Yeah.
If a guy at the age of 60, not in my age group, I'm talking from a youngster's point of view.
But even you are very inspiring, sir, today, alhamdulillah.
So that he is a leader. He or she, whosoever he is, number one. Number two, the previous discussion. We are missing here one thing.
Sure.
Political culture.
Oh yes.
True.
Strategic culture. Every state, every society has a political culture.
True.
Whatever ills that Khokar Sahab has pointed out is primarily because of the political culture we have. Okay? We vote as people to the leaders who promises us some return.
True.
Simple. It is a sood nizam. Simple as that.
I see.
Okay?
True.
Because this is what our political culture is. That if I am voted, you voted with me, I will bring my own people.
True.
Why? Because if I do not have my own people in the government, I will not be able to do what I want to do. To satisfy myself, my family and my voters.
True.
Okay? So these two things were very important to clear. Now coming back to the gender equality. It is time now that our women folk participate in the elections, not waiting for the reserved seats.
Oh yes.
All right?
Oh yes.
And I think in this election, a number of female candidates are there from different parties. ECP has promoted and promulgated many laws and election procedures where if a certain number of women voters were not there at the polling station, then the election was discontinued.
True.
Again, going back to the culture of that area. In the tribal culture, they do not allow ladies to go out and participate either in governance or in selecting the governance, isn't it?
True.
So it is in the tribal culture, which is slowly and gradually changing. It will take time.
True.
But alhamdulillah, we have not seen today yet.
Alhamdulillah.
It will take time. That's what I'm saying. That it has taken. It is evolving still. All right. Why? Because now all the tribal areas have been included in the mainstream provinces.
Yep.
So the things have started to
Change.
change. It will take time. I mean, the political process takes time to mature.
That's true.
Right in the beginning, I said we did not blossom because of certain interruptions.
True.
In certain societies, in certain democratic societies, for example, they cannot believe that the elections will be rigged.
That's true.
They cannot believe. I mean, they cannot imagine that
That's
election.
not a
result-
concept even.
It's not.
There's
a
no
concept.
political accusation of Dhandli. That's true.
There is no concept.
True.
Then in many societies, the voting is compulsory.
That's true.
I mean, it is legally compulsory. Australia, for example, if you do not vote, you are liable to charge. Okay, so this is again goes back to the political culture of Pakistan.
True.
Slowly and gradually, we are moving in the direction. If we continue to vote every 5 years, and if we continue to increase the number of voters,
Yes.
as the population is increasing, as the awareness is increasing, and as the social media is encouraging,
Yeah, and we will see the change as well.
inshallah the change has to come.
But sir, there's one more
Let's do
thing
that.
now. Now, in addition to this, now let's talk about, because we, within this South Asian region, we have, when we speak of our neighborhood, we have seen our neighbors progress with prosperity. When we speak of their economies, they're top notch. When we look at them in the G20 summits, it looks like as if they've made it out, and that too with this due process of democracy. Now imagine that we live in a country, Alhamdulillah, Islamic Republic of Pakistan, we love it, we are a democratic nation, but why do you think कि हमने अपने हमसायों से कोई असर नहीं लिया अभी तक? उस तरक्की की राह पे अभी तक क्यों नहीं गामजन हुए हम?
Again, the political culture.
True.
And how do you think that it can be changed?
That I am coming to.
Yeah.
That. Unfortunately, leadership, successive leadership, all together, did not have sincerity of purpose.
Okay,
Unfortunately.
People
of 23 million, 230 million people, can you imagine you don't have an airline? Can you believe it? All the regional airlines which were structured and built and established by Pakistan International Airlines are now running 8 to 10 flights a day to your 8 to 10 stations.
True.
And your people,
Oh my God.
9 million plus out Pakistanis who are living abroad are forced to travel either on Emirates or Gulf, Ittihad, Qatar and Fly Arabia.
And sir, the reason being, once unfortunately our aviation
Sincerity.
minister stands up and says that the licenses are not valid.
Sincerity of purpose. Successive leaders did not have sincerity of purpose.
True.
Otherwise, how is it possible that a country of 240 million does not have an airline with 9 million expat Pakistanis living around the world?
True.
Isn't it?
True.
So, coming back to political culture, our domestic politic has overawed or overwhelmed the entire structure which Khokar Sahab was talking about. Why the structures have not been built? Because then I will not be able to do the wrong things. If I let the judiciary work, then there will be accountability.
True.
So I will not let the judiciary work. However, today we don't want to talk about these
True.
things. Today we want to encourage people to go out and vote so that
It
we
will
are
change.
able to bring change.
Exactly.
It will take time.
True.
But the process must start and must continue.
Shazad,
Sure.
one line on it.
Please hop in.
To change the system, you talk about the political culture and you talk about the
Concept.
level of
Sincerity of purpose.
the level of inside the system. I believe that four things need to be agitated and needs to be promoted
Sure.
if we want to change the whole scenario.
Sir.
Sure.
One is the education. Education is very, very important for all the people, even you are a leader or you are a voter or you are a citizen of Pakistan.
True. That's
The second thing is the economic independency. It is also very important when you don't think that I am a dependent on it and you talk about the certain areas. So this is another area. The third is the education class, the literate class in terms of the higher education. They should actively participate in our political system. And the fourth, which is another very important area for the change of the political system in Pakistan, the opinion makers, they should also participate in the actual political process in Pakistan. If we all talk about this, if we have the economic independency and we have the best education system and we can influence and simultaneously we are educated, then you being a candidate for any political party and some around over there, when you talk about the
That's
other
what is the
areas.
actual political process now. Let's talk
No,
about
the
that as well,
actual-
because
no,
for us
the
this is the actual political process.
Today, generally, how many opinion makers they are applying for for the ticket for the political parties? How many educated
what do you
they
mean by
apply for that?
opinion makers,
If
sir?
when you miss something, then the other people will replace you, and the people are replacing about those. Then there is a
Do you
choice
think
of
I can be an
electables.
independent candidate?
No, you can't independent, but you should apply for any political
Exactly.
party.
Then what is that process? Nobody.
No, the process is that if we all about simultaneously we go about on different political parties, then we have a like minded to seek about the future of Pakistan. And we think about the people who is the area is the electables, he has no the level of dependency on their voters. Then you think about, they talk about the employment,
But-
they talk
but-
about the
but-
contract.
But
Yeah.
I think Shahzad is very right when he talked about can I stand for the independent candidate, because there's certain amount of money which is required to pour into the elections, and that is very unfortunate because that creates a sort of a walls of elitism, right?
True.
So rich can participate, poor I mean they're unable
Bade
to do
aadmi
so
ka nahi
because
koi pata.
obviously
back to political culture.
political
Yeah,
culture
bilkul.
and
Culture.
political.
Husband is disqualified, wife will get the ticket.
Oh yes.
Wife is
Or
dead,
maybe nephew.
son will get political culture. We have to live with it for some time. Let the process continue 5 times, 10 times,
true.
and things will be all right. But interruptions may not.
Exactly,
That-
and
that's
thank you
true,
so much,
that's
sir.
true.
Because I would like to add over here, because for anybody and everybody who might be thinking that that this political process that we would want to see changing will only be with the help of these votes.
And
So I think this is one thing which people need to understand, that if you're going to step outside, if you're going to go exercise your right to vote, only then gradually we will see change.
And evolution always requires time, right? So we were seeing that the culture is
Bada time ho
evolving,
gaya lekin.
and
Then the people then the leaders of these political party will also realize that people are casting their votes. So now we should think what they have thought about this.
And
So
we-
if they think that there is no interaction and they are not casting votes, and there is a traditional trend of 35 to 50%, then they think about, now this is the electables, and the people come out their votes, then the leaders will realize now we need to be fair.
So coming out of politics of electables.
And-
So
that
this
is-
is the only way to
Right.
break the people should cast their votes.
Kya baat.
and we are going to instill the political maturity which all of our analysts are alluding to here. But Professor Zameen Awan Saab, now let's come back to you. So why do you think that climate action should be central to the mandates of the political parties, especially in a country like Pakistan? What is your opinion on that?
In fact, we are part of the global democratic system.
True.
And in every country they have specific challenges and problems.
True.
In Pakistan, unfortunately, we are facing the same problem since 1947.
True.
Electables and the culture of politics, Nali and Gali and Patwari and Thana and
Draft.
Vadera and these things. But
Inheritance constituencies.
inheritance. But I can foresee a lot of change in the recent years, especially among the youth. There is a spark in the youth, and we will see a change in this election, and maybe in coming few elections it will be okay, all right. However, I want to say one thing more.
Sir.
We are just talking about the negativism and the bad aspect of our marriage
systems.
and political system
Halat
and
aise
all
nahi.
these things. But one thing I should also tell you, in education, there is a good news that
There is an increasing
through-
trend, yeah, right?
Through reforms, the merit is prevailing in the universities, especially in the medical colleges and engineering universities. Merit is the must. If any student get admission without merit, people go to the Supreme Court of Pakistan. The most famous case is the Faradogar case a few years ago.
True.
And we hope and we expect through reforms in the bureaucracy, in the civil services, we should also need to introduce reforms and the merit-based jobs.
Right, right. Dr. Shamsi Saab, now let's come back to you, and I would like to throw you the same question that I threw Professor Zameer Aman Saab. So why do you believe that the climate action should be central to the election campaigns and the manifestos of the people, especially in a country like Pakistan, which is so much vulnerable to the climate change, and we've seen the impacts of it in terms of 40 billion losses of the climate change that we witnessed in the floods in 2022.
Yeah, since this is PTV World and we are supposed to be neutral and not siding anybody, otherwise there has been only one party in Pakistan which has talked about climate and done something in their tenure about the climate, isn't it? Unfortunately though,
Right.
every party must have in its manifesto climate a top priority.
True. That's
We have recently concluded COP28. We know the agenda, we are affected people, and we should know how to deal with it. Because every year the warning is issued. Let me tell you, NDMA has now embarked upon preventive measures also.
okay.
All right, it had been in
Otherwise,
established
they weren't
for
really
quite some
proactive.
time, but now they have started to forecast. And this time, if you have noticed, the impact was not that much
True.
than to previous years. So NDMA has embarked upon this evolutionary process where it is in contact with the PDMS, that is the provincial disaster management authorities, and it is started to issue the warnings preemptively.
Right.
This is what is important, that you do preemption, you do prevention also, isn't it? Then you do relief and then you do rehabilitation. So all these 4 steps are important as the situation goes. But the most important remains the preemption and prevention, which NDMA has now actively
But previously
pursuing.
they weren't.
Previously they were
Yeah.
not. Previously they were reactive.
Yes.
Right.
They weren't
Now
proactive.
they are proactive.
Hajra, there is another area in addition to the climate
sure.
change is the increase in the population. This is another area
True.
that now we are the 5th largest country of the world, and we talk and we go by this
Sir,
ratio.
क्या आबादी है
It would
इसमें?
all be
कोई
no,
आबादी
it
नहीं
would it would doubled in 2050.
Inshallah.
So we should
We need to
also
think about the resources, generating resources,
no, no.
rather than controlling them. Okay.
No, I'm not talking about the.
Do you think there
controlling,
needs to be a law in place for that?
No, no, I'm
Islamic
no,
Republic of Pakistan.
I'm not talking about
Okay.
the law in place, but we should look at this matter that the level of the increase and the
प्यारे लगते
resources
हैं
we are
लेकिन
and the resources we are deploying it. So this is another area
Yeah.
which the federal government or the provincial will come on it. They should work on it. And the other area which is also important, in addition to the climate change and the
Family planning and-
family
yeah.
planning and the population, is the literacy rate in Pakistan.
What about job creation?
The job creation is the outcome of the education. You should go on the vocational training.
Sorry,
You should go on the.
we have so many engineers, we have so many graduates from university, but we do not
There
have
are-
jobs.
Shamsi
If you
Saab wants-
percent, no, no,
Shamsi
if
Saab
you
wants to
percent,
add
no, no,
something, please.
Shehzad, if you percentage, you have a 250 million population.
Yep.
What is the ratio of the lawyers? What is the ratio of the doctors? What is the ratio of the
I think
engineers?
our women needs to kind of find jobs
so,
as
so
well.
These,
You know, this is one
so
thing
these areas,
I'm very
and
adamant
then
on.
the Planning Commission of Pakistan, they should actively participate about the future plannings of Pakistan. How we should can generate our resources, how we should deploy our resources.
That's what the leadership is for.
And we have simultaneously have the success stories in Pakistan. There is no doubt on it that the Pakistan, when established in 1947, what the level of resources we had, and now we are talking about the living.
So,
20
Shamsi
Saab
Saab
wants to add-
wants
yeah,
to
yeah,
add
yeah.
something.
There are
Please go
two
ahead.
schools of thought.
Yeah.
Right.
This is the size of the cake
Yep.
and 25 million are eating.
Right.
You have the capacity to increase the size of the cake and 50 million people can eat.
Yeah.
Or 500 million people
True.
can eat, isn't it?
True.
Why? Because Allah Ta'ala has blessed this land
True.
with innumerable
Tremendous.
resources. You know, this Indus Valley area is the dream of a geographer. When a geographer stands on the moon and looks down
That's what it
on the earth, this is the most fertile land in the world.
MashaAllah.
It starts from the glacial mountains of 30,000 feet and goes all the way down to the warm waters of the Arabian Sea.
Yep.
It has 12 seasons. It has a topography which can produce everything that you can
The
think
flora,
of.
the fauna, the
Everything.
minerals, everything.
That's
It's a dream of a geographer.
But simultaneously,
Rest assured,
Sir, let him
it's
finish.
a dream
Sir, let
of
him
the
finish.
geographer, isn't it? It is our fault that we have not exploited it.
True.
Again, going back, sincerity of purpose among the leadership, unfortunately we have not been able to develop it. Otherwise, Allah Ta'ala has blessed you with the location, a strategic location.
Alhamdulillah.
Only the relevance of this location can give you billions of dollars if you want to exploit it properly.
but simultaneously, Shahzad, two ayats are very important. One is laisal insan illa ma sa'a. इंसान को वही मिलता है जो उसकी कोशिश है. And second is inna Allah la yughayyiru ma bi
So this
qawmin
speaks of
hatta
our
yughayyiru
कोशिश,
ma
sir.
bi
This speaks
anfusihim.
of our intent.
कि अगर आप कोशिश नहीं करेंगे तो फिर आपकी हालत नहीं बदल दी जा सकती. तो these are the two important things which needs to be discussed and needs to be implemented.
One thing I want to
Sure,
add
sure,
about
sure.
the
We are all ears.
population. The nation who has reduced their population, especially in the European countries, their growth rate is negative.
Yep.
They are facing different
Yes.
type of challenges.
Yes.
True, true.
Of course,
Hum
with
chale
the
jaate hain,
increase of
Now we're at
population,
1.5.
we have different challenges, but those nations who has reduced their population, they are even worse than us.
Exactly.
And especially in China, they used to have policy of one child, but they are feared, they are afraid that after a few years they will face the shortage of the workforce.
True.
They have encouraged the people to have more children, and
But
they are
sir-
introducing
Yes.
very
have already, sir.
very effective policies that if a mother have carrying 2 or 3 children, she will be getting the salary and staying at home.
True.
Right.
I mean,
Sir,
they are
do you know
encouraging.
how many children now outside the schools? See?
Ji.
More than 2 crore
ऐसे ही है,
children.
ऐसे ही.
So we should think on it. See, do you know how many children they have the stunted growth? It's around 5 crores.
True, that's true.
So these are the areas simultaneously we need to increase our resources, deploy over there, and simultaneously we need to discuss and control these areas which can match our resources.
Exactly, and that's particularly we want as well. But there's something which we would like to share. So I would want you to kind of head out towards the visuals as well, so that we can share that story with our audiences out there as well. Who are watching us. And while we are at it, let me just kind of let you know. But over here, ladies and gentlemen, at this point of time, the Commonwealth Observer Group in Islamabad is at different polling stations, and in view of the pollings which have been going on, the Election Commission to be very honest, what we need to kind of mention over it is that the Commonwealth Observer has a 25 people team which is actually visiting different polling stations to kind of check about the transparency, and as we say that these are the free and fair elections, and this is what the report states as well. And the Commonwealth observers are actually saying while observing the polling which has been going on, that so far it has been free and fair, and that's what we want and that's what we deserve as well.
And we are all geared up for the election, and we've seen that we have been doing this marathon transmission, and PTV will be doing this marathon transmission for the entire day, where we will talk about our power to write the vote and our power to exercise the vote, because we believe that the vote is a sacred right which gives you power to choose your representative, and that representative can and can make the things happen. So we will thank all of our guests for coming here. Thank
Message
you so
of
much.
hope is today.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much for coming here, for having this wonderful conversation.
Exactly, and Hajar, just towards the end, there are a few people that I would love to thank, because throughout the day, ladies and gentlemen, not just today, tomorrow, till the time that the results are going to be announced, our entire Pakistan television team will be out there. So, I think first of all, due credit goes to the interim government, because for conducting these free and fair elections. Thank you so much. Not just that, the interim information minister as well, he was at the forefront of it, maybe secretary information, maybe managing director PTVC, because such are the arrangements over here that we really need to kind of appreciate at this point of time. And while we are at it as well, I would like to kind of congratulate our channel heads for doing it in such a way where, we are neutral, we're not apolitical, but rather neutral, and bringing up the perspective of each and every individual of Pakistan. So may it be our producers, may it be our directors, anchors, thank you so much, our engineers, our cameramen.
Mashallah, you conducted very well.
Thank you so much, sir. Our audio engineers, our support staff, all participants, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. Stay tuned, because as soon as we're going to head out towards a short break, we will lead you towards a news bulletin, and from there onwards, Jawad Tehami is actually going to take over with the election transmission 2024. There's only one thing which I would love to say towards the end, and that is Pakistan Zindabad.